And the criticism is pretty tough. Right. And one of the things that I refuse to be intimidated by is I disagree with President Obama on his health care, and I disagree with him on the stimulus, and all these different things. These are ideological. They have absolutely zero to do with his race. If he were Clarence Thomas, I'd hope to be working for him. I mean, wow. So it is not about race. It is about ideology. However, as you make these criticisms, I get emails all the time that say, oh, well, you disagree with him on this. I write a column for the American Spectator, and they say, well, you're a racist because you said that you're opposed to a particular version of the health care plan.
Hang on one second. I just want to invite our viewers to join our guest here and tell us what you have to say about all of this, because as always, we are curious about your perspective. Do you think that racism is still rampant these days, or do you think the so-called race card is now being thrown around perhaps too much? For example, this Henry Gates case that we were talking about, was he arrested because he was black or because he was antagonizing a police officer? And as I just asked Tara and the rest of the gang here, is there anything that we can do to change all of this? If you want to tell us what you think, we invite you to email your thoughts and your opinions to me. A couple of different ways you can do it. You can log on to csnphilly.com. Then you put in It's Your Call under the search key. That'll take you to my webpage where you can leave me a comment. Or you can email me directly here at the show at tcn_IYC@cable.comcast.com. Of course, always you can find us on Facebook, MySpace, and YouTube. And boy, you know when we put the question out there on Facebook, particularly the kind of response that we got back. We're going to share some of that later on. But I want to go back to the Gates arrest. We've talked about it a little bit, but what about the reaction? I think one thing that really struck a chord with a lot of people was that President Obama initially made the comment that the police acted stupidly without knowing, he admitted later, all of the facts. Is that almost reverse racism on his part? He assumed because it was a white police officer and his friend Henry Gates.
Not reverse racism, but spoken out of term. It's not reverse racism. It's spoken out of term.
Reverse racism. It's racism.
But we have to first and foremost remember he's the president of the United States, but he also has multiple identities. He's a biracial male. Yeah. He's also an African American male, in the sense that has also endured racial profiling. So we also
therefore white cops are guilty?
No, I think he spoke out of term, and I also will provide a critique with the forthcoming recommendation in the sense that he trivialized the incident down to a bear instead of a national discussion on race.
So
but I think we still need to recognize that he had a right to speak what he was able to speak as it relates to the police acting stupidly.
Tara said something before, about having a very serious discussion and dialogue about it, and then Chad points out that he thinks that the president trivialized it by saying, let's talk about it over a beer. How should he have handled it if you didn't agree with the beer?
You shouldn't have said the stupid word.
All right, okay, he apologized for that, and then he moved forward. So was he right in bringing those two together?
And I will say,
what did he apologize for?
He said he misspoke without knowing all the details.
And he should.
I think, in fairness to him, I think he sees the presidency as a bully pulpit, as all his predecessors do. And in this particular moment, since he's also the first black president, he sees it as a moment to educate. I really do think that's what he thinks.
Were we educated by the beer in the Rose Garden? Were we, as a society, educated?
I think it's going to be the teachable moment that emerges from that.
I'll tell you the teachable moment here. The teachable moment here is that if you are black and you say something racist or bigoted, let me finish, please. You do not have to say you're sorry. You do not have to back down. You do not have to explain yourself. Barack Obama clearly made the greatest mistake here by assuming the white cop was a racist, by assuming his friend wasn't guilty about doing something stupid.
He said stupid. By saying they acted stupidly, you are insinuating there's racism behind us.
No, absolutely
not at all.
Absolutely not.
I got to say, I think that again that was education, that was Harvard, and that was class speaking.
All right,
there's no doubt about it. We all agree on that.
They'll continue talking. You stick around to find out what else they have to say, because I guarantee you that this discussion continues during the break. It will be back in 3 minutes. Stay with us.
Lynn Doyle's jewelry provided by David Craig Diamonds and Fine Jewelry, Newtown, Pennsylvania.
Transportation for It's Your Call guests provided by Preferred Car and Limousine.
I feel like the race card has kind of been overplayed in the media. Whether or not the racist events happen as much as they do is still yet to be seen.
I think we use it way too often.
It is insulting when white folks get upset
and say that black people or any people of color use the race card when white people made the deck.
The ones that I hear on TV and that it's, you know, using the race card many times, I think I don't like it. You know, I don't like it. It doesn't. It's never. We're never going to get over anything if they continue to pull the race card.
The race thing, to me, is never going to go away. It's going to always be there. And for people to say no, it's not. You're not that race.
Does racism exist? Sure it does. But should it be used as an excuse? Absolutely not.
That's what people around the region had to say when we asked them about our very volatile topic, whether some of the events of this past summer were in fact truly racist or whether they were labeled that too quickly by the African American community. And you could see by the responses that we got that even those responses to that question were divided by race. It seemed like the white
except for
individuals.
The last guy. The last guy, he's my hero. I want him to be my best friend.
You just said I was your hero during the break.
Well, you just got usurped.
But they said, the white people said that they thought it was used too often or blown out of proportion by the media, and the African Americans or people of color said, no, you have no idea what it's like. You don't live with it every day.
You know,
and I started this show by asking, are we ever going to change that? That would be like having the three of you try to look through my eyes and Tara's eyes as a woman when you have no idea what it's like for us.
I think one of the problems we have here is that we are so tight as an American society. When you realize, wasn't it Rwanda, and there were two different black ethnic groups that were going at one another, and when you read the history of that period, the comments, had you taken away the skin color situation there and transferred it to the South in America in the U.S. in 1950s, you would have thought that we were talking about whites and blacks, but we were talking about blacks and blacks. This goes on all over the world, among, you know, the English and the Irish and all of this kind of thing. We Americanize this, and it's become an obsession that I think we're finally beginning to get over, but it is always there below the system.
There's a world ignorance to a natural phenomenon. First of all, there is some kind of bigotry anywhere you go in the world.